There was a woman in the village named Aya. She had lost her husband and refused to remarry after his death, choosing instead to raise her 4 children on her own. Aya wanted her children to have a normal life, just like the other kids in the village. Ever since her husband's death, she worked tirelessly outside the home to put food on the table. Her job was at a large factory, 20 kilometers away from the village, so she had to leave home at 5 in the morning. Aya worked alongside a few other women, one of whom was her best friend, Nia. Every day, Aya and Nia traveled to work together. One day, the factory announced that it would be moving to a new location and asked its employees to report to the new factory the following day. After work, Nia approached Aya. "I want to find the new factory's address today. Would you like to come with me?" Aya replied, "You know I have to get back home soon to cook for the kids." "No problem," Nia said. "I'll go alone. Tomorrow at 4:30 a.m. I'll come by, so wait for me outside." Aya agreed. At exactly 4:30 a.m., Aya stepped outside her home. It was winter, and the weather was dark and cold, with snow steadily falling. She saw Nia waiting for her in the distance. Aya called out, "I'm coming, Nia. Have you been waiting long?" Nia didn't respond. She simply turned and began walking. Aya hurried after her. The snowstorm intensified, and walking became increasingly difficult. As they made their way to the new factory, Aya asked, "Nia, is the new place far from the bus stop?" Nia stayed silent. "Nia, you're walking so fast." Still no reply. Nia remained silent, not answering any of Aya's questions. Aya thought to herself, "Why isn't she talking to me? Maybe she's still upset about yesterday." But something felt wrong. Nia was moving so fast, seemingly unaffected by the storm, while Aya had to lower her head and walk cautiously through the thick snow. Suddenly, Aya noticed something peculiar. Nia's footsteps. Her legs looked far too long. Fear gripped Aya's heart. "This can't be Nia," she thought. She stopped in her tracks, an unsettling idea forming in her mind. As Nia continued forward, Aya took a step back. Nia abruptly halted and turned to face Aya with a chilling smile. "We should take the path through the woods," she said. "It's easier, and we'll be safe from the storm." Aya's heart raced. "Okay, Nia, you go ahead. I'll rest for a few minutes and catch up once I've regained my strength." Without another word, Nia turned and continued walking. Now Aya had her chance. She gathered all her strength and ran back toward the village. She looked over her shoulder and saw Nia running after her. Panic surged through her as she shouted for help. As she neared the village, the lights of the houses flickered on one by one in response to her screams. When Aya finally reached her home, Nia was there, waiting for her. "Where have you been? We're going to be late for work," Nia said. Aya, out of breath, stared at her. "How did you get here before me? In this snowstorm, no less?" "What do you mean?" Nia replied, confusion etched on her face. Aya continued to stare in silence. Nia began walking again, and Aya cautiously glanced at her footsteps. They were deep, unnatural impressions in the snow, and Aya felt a chill run down her spine. "What's wrong, Aya? I saw you following someone earlier. Who was that woman?" Aya hesitated. "We should get to work," she said. As they walked, she kept checking the footprints in the snow. Nia asked again, "Who was that woman? What did she want so early in the morning?" "I thought it was you," Aya admitted quietly. "Me?" Nia stopped, her eyes narrowing. "What happened?" "She was heading toward the woods. I grew suspicious and ran back home. And, well, you know the rest." Nia's expression changed, her smile widening unnaturally. "The woods. Grandpa was right." Aya turned to her, concern growing. "What did your grandfather say?" Nia began to explain. "When he was young, a well-known family lived in our village. One day, a young man from that family went missing and never returned. His family searched for him, but he was never found. A shepherd claimed to have seen the young man and his friend walking toward the woods. But that's where the trail went cold." "What about his friend?" Aya asked. "He denied being with him. When the police questioned him, he had an alibi. He was in the city that day, not the village." My grandpa said some of the older villagers believed there was a creature in the woods that could take on a human form and lure its victims away. They believed that young man was taken by that creature. Aya felt a shiver run through her. What happened to his friend? After he was cleared of suspicion, he left the village, and no one ever heard from him again. As they walked toward the factory, Aya couldn't shake the unease settling in her stomach. What if Nia was right? The way Nia spoke about the woods felt too intimate, too knowing. And that smile, it was chilling. Suddenly, Nia stopped again. Aya, can I ask you something? Sure, Aya replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Do you trust me? Nia's eyes gleamed with an unsettling intensity. Aya hesitated. Of course I do, but why do you ask? Because sometimes trust can be misplaced, Nia said. As they approached the factory, Nia suddenly stopped, her gaze distant. Do you feel that? She asked, tilting her head as if listening to something just out of earshot. Aya felt an unsettling chill. Feel what? The woods. They call to me, Nia murmured, her voice low and contemplative. Aya instinctively took a step back, a knot of unease forming in her stomach. Nia, this isn't funny. We need to focus on getting to work. But Nia didn't respond. She stared ahead, lost in thought. There's something out there, Aya. Something waiting. Nia, let's not do this right now, Aya urged, a sense of dread creeping in. Nia's expression shifted, the intensity in her eyes making Aya uncomfortable. Sometimes the storm can reveal things we'd rather not see. Aya felt her heart race. What are you talking about? Nia turned to her, a hint of something unrateable in her smile. You might want to keep your eyes open. You never know what might be watching. The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Aya's instincts flared, but before she could respond, Nia began walking toward the edge of the forest. Nia, wait! Aya called out, panic surging within her. We need to stick together. But Nia moved with purpose, her silhouette merging with the shadows of the trees. As the wind howled around her, Aya felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down. She turned and hurried back toward the village, her mind racing with doubt about who or what she had been walking with. What do you think? Is Nia an ordinary woman, or is she something more sinister? Should Aya trust her?